computer. Okay, recording's in progress. Thank you, Christina.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Okay. Whenever you're ready, I'm going to be in the car.
Hey, Didn't,
Okay.
Yeah.
didn't we lose somebody? Wasn't there 11 of us before?
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. I had 12.
You have 12,
Yes.
okay.
Carol Ivy, the
Yes.
mountain scene, she disappeared. And here in the order, and even the order I saw them in the picture, and they have changed. All right, Ken, Harland, Pat, Carol Ivy's missing. Gary is there. Deli is there. Fran, Randy, Janira, Eric, and Martha. 4, 8. It's 10. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Yeah, I just can't count. We lost Carol Ivy.
She'll come back in.
If she comes back in, fine. Okay, so you were going to introduce Eric.
Eric and,
Yes.
and Gary are both from Macava. They're both new to the group. They are both interested in joining us on the March trip.
Great.
Yeah, I'm coming. So I plan on sending in my money and the application and that kind of thing early next month. So my
Okay.
plans are to.
Okay.
I've always wanted to go to Cuba. I've always wanted to go to Cuba, and figured this is the best way to go right now.
Okay.
And
Okay.
to spread the Lord's word. Can't think of anything better.
Right. Good. Glad to have you.
Yep.
Okay, then. We ready to share the financials? You ready for that?
Yes.
Okay. Let's see how this works. All right, can you see the screen?
Yes.
All right, this is our summary of the financials, and this is as of the end of the third quarter, which is, did I forget to put the, oh, that says 3/23. Let me see if that's the day. I didn't change the date. It should say end of September or end of June instead of end of March. I'm sorry. But here's our balance. We have $1,070, almost a little over $1,000 in the transportation fund. Water fund hasn't been used for a while. It's still $666.90. The leadership training fund, we have a balance of $765 because we took money down with us when we went in March. The computer partnership fund is $14,000. That's after we took some money out for the trip, etc. Now the Lamosi fund increased. What happened is the Lamosi fund is a endowment. It's an endowment fund, so it's earning interest. And we were only getting the principal reported before. So Nancy Cox went back, and part of her work as our finance manager, and separated out all the interest and put it in interest. There's both interest that comes in, and then there's market changes. So if we get interest, we get an increase. If the market goes up, that's recorded as an increase in the value of the fund. If the market goes down, that's a decrease in the value of the fund. So she took care of everything from when we first got the fund, and we just summarized it on one line here. So, and we thought we had $9,900. We, as of the end of that one's updated, end of June, we have $11,755. So that fund is actually growing a little bit, which is nice. And then the mission development is the budget we have from the Presbytery gives mission development gives us from their budget, and there's a remainder of $1,850 in that. And we would like to make a motion to transfer that money. If we don't spend this money, it is lost. It goes back into the pot. So we've done the last 2 years or so is we've made a motion to move that money to the Cuba Partnership. I think we said the Cuba Partnership Fund. I'm trying to get my my screen. I can't see my notes here. Yeah,
I think
oh,
we said
I
earlier
would suggest,
transportation.
move to transportation. Yes, let's move it to the transportation account. So I would present that motion and it requires a second.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
Okay, very good. All in favor, or is there any discussion? We don't have a discussion, is all in favor signify, raise your hand, wave.
Yes.
Okay, can you see everybody? No objections? All right, we'll record that the motion is passed.
Okay, and I will update this so it has the correct dates, but I did update those.
Okay.
There is no change basically to transportation and water treatment from March, the report. That's why I didn't get updated, but the others have the right dates on them. Any questions on this?
So are we aware of any money that has come in for transportation since we made our appeal at the September meeting?
We are aware of transportation. The last information we have receipt was at end of March. So I would say we have not, I don't know that we haven't received any, but Nancy hasn't let me know that there has been any.
Okay. At some point, I think always before year end, even though we're not going until March, I think another appeal would make sense, particularly if we can say, just a reminder, here was our goal. And yeah, I'm happy to write this because I've done it before. And here's how much has been raised so far. And so here's how much we have left.
That's the
go.
next item on our agenda.
Oh, okay. Not looking at the agenda, so.
So if there are no more questions on the finance report, we can move on to that. So need another appeal before year end, and you'll write that.
I will.
Okay.
I just want to have numbers. So I guess what I'm thinking is, let's see what's come in through, the end of November, after Thanksgiving, and then send out an appeal maybe the first week of December.
So will you make that appeal at the Presbyterian meeting?
Absolutely, we should make the appeal at the Presbyterian meeting.
Okay.
But also
Okay.
as an email blast.
That's right, both.
And in the Presbytery the packet that goes out. Because there are people who see the Presbytery packet goes to all the churches, and the churches may not have people on our distribution list. So if we put that letter in the Presbytery packet that Christina sends out, or Cheryl, whoever sends it out as well. I will ask Nancy, I have a note to ask Nancy what has come in by the end of November.
If we wait until the end of November, will we have time to get something in the Presbyterian package? Presbytery is December the 5th, I think.
Yeah, Pat, do you know, do they prepare that packet in advance, don't they?
Yes, about 2 weeks in advance. Why don't I ask her at the end of this week?
Okay, that'll work. And
Yeah, because next week is a short week.
Yes.
Yeah, I'll be able to write up something fairly quickly.
Okay.
And I forget
So
where we sent them last time.
I will let Olga know then that Randy is going to speak for Cuba at the Presbyterian meeting.
Well, wait, just a thought, since, and I know this meeting's virtual, since I made, a pretty long presentation at the last one, don't you think it'd be better for one of the two of you to do it this time? Since I spoke at the last one? Pat, I don't know if you're going to be there or be there virtually. I just,
I would like to be, it's in Leesburg, isn't it?
No, it's virtual.
Oh, I thought it was I knew it was supposed to be virtual, that the calendar, Presbytery calendar says hybrid. I thought they had a site for it. If it's gonna be all virtual, I have no problem.
No, it was the September meeting that was virtual, and it was at Leesburg. It was at Graceway.
I know
in
that, I know that, but the code
Uh,
still says December 6th, December, whatever it is hybrid.
As far as I know, it's completely virtual unless they've changed that. And since we have new co-interim execs, they may have changed that, but I haven't heard anything.
Okay, well, whatever.
Well,
If it's I'll be there one way or the other.
yes, okay, so you want to speak for Cuba then, Pat?
Okie dokie.
Okay,
Just make
I
sure.
just- I-
Send me your
just
write-up
think
before then.
I think it's good to move it around.
Yes, it is.
Oh, overflow room there. Oh, yeah.
and
We should also,
Randy, what you write up, you will send that in and have that published in the
Yes,
e-blast too.
right.
we
Okay,
should also mention the business meeting in that brief blurb that, that highlight we received information from them on how they spent their funds last year. And there was the meeting and we're cooperating with the other presbyteries, and here are our goals for this year.
Right. Okay.
And you can put that in your report if you want to.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, you'll put it in your oral presentation, but I think, something in the blurb, normally, we just try to focus on the fun. Well, but of course there's a tie-in. There's a good tie-in that we had the business meeting and we talked about their needs and all that. So you're right. It makes sense to put it in there, Pat.
Well, at least where the money went last year, what it was used for,
Right.
and how what's the word, vital it was for them, because they have not been receiving funds for their other projects. That, we've continued to fund these two projects through COVID, and they have not been receiving funds for couple of years for their feeding projects from some of the other organizations that normally that have supported them in the past. So this is just such vital support.
Okay. It might be a good idea for when we're not talking for everyone to mute themselves.
This is she.
What did you say, Randy? I didn't quite catch that. I'm not getting very good audio. Everyone seems to be broken up, so I guess that's my reception here.
I said maybe it makes sense for everyone other than you, since you're moderating, to mute themselves when they're not speaking.
And I was thinking that if we could do something.
Okay.
to bring the neighbors
But
closer.
you can mute, since you are the host, you can mute everybody.
This is as far as I can go to tell you what I need. I need an interview with you if it is possible.
Pat,
There you go.
Ken, you have to unmute yourself.
Okay, I thought I did. Okay, so that would take care of the fundraising then. Is there any other thoughts on fundraising? And all right, Randy, would you like to say something about the CPN gathering?
Sure. So Ken and I represented the Presbytery at the Cuba Partners Network gathering held in Maryland and near the end of October. I will tell you that I've been to a number of these gatherings, and the location was spectacular. We were right on, what was the river we were on, Ken? I can't remember the name of it, but
I don't either. It was the northern end of the Chesapeake Bay, but
we had spectacular weather. I mean, not a cloud in the sky. The
Susquehanna.
it wasn't it no, it was
No?
but it was close to it. But
What's
truly,
that?
it was a great place that that where we were. The setting was nice. I will also tell you before I forget that during the business meeting, Ken was elected. He had agreed to serve, and he was elected as a new member of the steering committee. So that's great because all that means our Presbytery is represented on the steering committee. You know, I did it for I was co-moderator for 5 years, and then you know, I through the end of 22, and we had no one on last year, so it just, you know, it helps to have that connection. And so Ken is Ken, I am confident is going to do a great job on the steering committee. We had there were a number of Cuban leaders at the meeting. There was the moderator of, excuse me, there was the moderator of the synod, you know, for the IPRC. There was their general secretary, Allison, who's the pastor at a church in Matanzas Presbytery, is the moderator. Dora is a pastor in Havana Presbytery. She's the general secretary. The Rayleigh, who is the pastor at Santa Clara, he was there representing, you know, El Centro Presbytery, which is, it was wonderful because he did not find out until October 17th. They weren't able to get interviews at the U.S. Embassy, but through some connections, they were finally able to get interviews, and he was approved. So, you know, he was there as well. There were presentations, and by the way, the steering committee will be producing a report, and we'll make sure everyone here gets a copy of that, you know, report of, you know, what took place. But, you know, there was a great, you know, there was a panel with the, I guess there were about 5 Cubans, you know, on there that, you know, just talking about, you know, the situation right now. And, you know, it continues to be a desperate situation. They are losing their best and their brightest, you know, to the United States. The birth rate in Cuba is now down to like 1.1. Replacement, you know, to keep equal is like 2.1. And so there is the lowest birth rate in all of Latin America. And there was a good bit of discussion about becoming self-sustaining, and not that the expectation is that the churches can become self-sustaining, you know, fully, but that they are trying to take some steps to do that. The steering committee is going to be working, the CPN steering committee is going to be working closely with the leadership, because Alison, who's the moderator, he showed me a number of pictures of all of the things they're doing at their church to try to become, provide more financial support, because right now, I mean, 95% of all their money basically comes from foreign sources, whether it's US churches, you know, partner churches, or you know, European ones. You know, some of them do have partnerships with Germany and Switzerland, but it's almost all because, you know, there's just the situation is so bad in Cuba, and so they're looking for ways to do this. And I would like to think we're going to be hearing more about this in this coming year. There was also a panel discussion on a panel on advocacy, and they had a representative from the Cuban embassy in Washington, D.C. there. They had a couple of other people on there. Ken, I guess I don't remember what their positions, but they were with, you know, trade organizations. I mean, it was really a very high-powered. I was impressed uh, panel. And, Ken, I guess I'm having difficulty remembering right at this point, a lot of what was said, but again, there'll be notes that are going to be coming out. Ken, were you going to say something there?
I was going to say one of those panelists was a man that from an organization that advocates for increased agricultural cooperation and trade between the U.S. and Cuba. And he made the comment that there are ways, legally ways, to get some of our agricultural products to Cuba. And I think he said something like 15% of their food does come from the U.S. But his organization advocates for that increased trade in agricultural products between the two.
Right.
I found it very interesting that one of the panelists was the first secretary from the Cuban embassy in Washington, D.C., and that his responsibility was religious affairs. I was surprised that someone from the embassy was there, but I was very much surprised that his responsibility was religion.
And Ken, since you're now on the steering committee, I am extremely hopeful that the steering committee and the advocacy committee is going to be communicating with all of us about that, because I think that was new information to most people there about the ability to, getting these agricultural licenses and those types of things. And so, Ken, getting information out to the network about that, because again, Pat and Ken and I will make sure that information then gets out to, everyone here and, in fact, everyone who's on our email lists, in our presbytery. There was also a breakout session for El Central Presbytery that again, one of the major points we talked about was increasing communication between us, so that the three presbyteries that have partnerships with El Central Presbytery, Southern Kansas actually, it's not a partnership. But they've been involved for several years, and they anticipate they'll enter into a formal partnership agreement in the spring. Baltimore Pres and our Pres, and then Mission Presbytery in Texas has a partnership, but it's inactive right now. But that we need to increase communication between the Cuban leadership and all of our churches. Ken, anything else that came out of that session? I guess since I was facilitating the group, it's tough for me to remember now what was said.
I don't remember anything else from that session, Randy. One of the things that I did pick up from one of the panel discussions or somewhere was that some of them made the comment that the water from the Living Waters for the World purification systems that have been installed was better water than what the Cubans buy as bottled water in their stores. Which kind of tells you something about the quality of things there. Maybe I would like to find a way to maybe use some of that money in our water budget line to install another one of those systems at a church there. So we'll keep that in mind as a useful purpose for that line. I did talk to Myers Park people. We were talking, and they have some interest in maybe installing one of those systems. So I says, well, keep us informed, and maybe we can partner on it. So something might develop there.
There's actually, Ken, 4 churches, and Pat and I found this out when we were at the business meeting. there are 4 churches that have been approved by Living Waters for the World for systems, but it's, coming up the money, and they are Taguasco, Remedios, Pat Calabazar, and Santa Clara. Yeah, Santa Clara. Pat, you're on mute. And Santa Clara, the church they have a partnership with in Spartanburg has agreed to fund that one. And by the way, I spoke with the moderator for the Cuba partner for the Living Waters, and he said that the average cost they estimate is around $10,000 now to put a system in. So it's not cheap, but so he talked about so that's the cost. And as Ken said, for Remedios, it appears there's a reasonable chance that Myers Park, which is a very deep-pocketed church in Charlotte, North Carolina, and has a partnership with the Remedios, they're willing to take a leadership role on that. And obviously, Wakaiva is involved. So there's hope that will happen relatively soon. Taguasco, there was initial thought by Living Waters that they were not going to do anything there because, they didn't have a pastor. But we had a church, Soraland, is with Presbyterian Church in New York City, and they and others who have relationships with Taguasco are hopefully going to be able to assist in putting a system in there that they were told Taguasco's almost never had a pastor, and so that shouldn't be a reason not to do it. And so it was good. There was a lot of discussions, one-on-one discussions that took place about that. There was no discussion about the 4th, but really, I think the highlight of just the whole time was, this is the first time we had gathered here in the US because of, COVID since June of 2019. And it was so incredibly valuable just to have, just the interactions, as a group, one-on-one, conversations. It's, if you're ever thinking about going and it hasn't been determined yet where it's going to be next year, it truly is an outstanding event. There were probably 70, 75 people there, from all over the US. Plus, as I said, there were, I think, 6 Cubans there. It's just an outstanding, they had good speakers. It was, I was most impressed with it. And, I think Ken and I were both extremely pleased we went.
It was a very good conference, a lot of good information, and there was information there that was not, there's mostly about Cuba, but there was information there to take back about any kind of a mission trip that you want to make. Yes, Pat?
I just wanted to point out, you're mentioning possibly using the water treatment for funds to help with one of the systems. I think if we go back in our minutes, that water treatment money was left over from the installation by Burp, and it was supposed to be for supplies for El Paraíso. So we may need to check into that. It may already be designated, but we can certainly raise funds for a water system. And that should, I think we'll respond to that.
It was it was when they mentioned Remedios had been approved for one that I talked to the lady that was, or one of the ladies that was representing Miles Park, and she is interested and was going to take that back to their missions committee. So I might bring up some discussion about that money later. But when you hear things like what I related about the quality of the water, and when they talk about the scarcity of food, it really makes you see the need to help the people there. And the fact that we're working with established churches that have survived through these hard times of communist rule.
Oh, yeah, that's one of the most significant projects that we can participate in.
Okay. Does anybody have anything to report about their partnerships or their partner churches or the churches they have relationships with?
I do have a brief report from Manassas and URA. Manassas recently celebrated their 75th anniversary. And at that anniversary, they welcomed, I believe Elder Brocha said 5 new members, had 4 baptisms, including, and these were not infants, these were children and then 1 adult, I believe. And URA, which is also a tiny church, also had a new member welcomed. So I just think that's fantastic this time.
Yeah, there's good news. I have made 2 shipments of food to the church in Remedios by using a website, Supermarket 23. Something like that website offers a lot of different items. I understand there's a lot of food items, and I've sent things twice to the church. So there is a way to help at times when we're not going down, if anyone is interested in that.
We're trying to get.
Can you please send?
Beg your
I'm
pardon?
sorry, Pat.
We're trying to get something at Pineda to send something down in December to Manassas and URA. We're just in the planning stages of that with Edelberto to deliver it, because they can't ship directly to those churches. We have to ship to Remedios, to Edelberto, who is the supervising pastor who visits those 2 churches monthly.
I think we're
Can
looking for
you,
that website
Pat?
again, Ken.
Janira?
Can
Somebody said something and I couldn't hear.
Can Pat or Ken, can you send that website so we can work on that and send something to our partnership church, please?
I will put it in
Okay,
the,
I will send it out to you, but it is Supermarket 23, Supermarket 23. Supermarket spelled just like you would spell it.
Supermarket
But I'll see.
23 or 23?
23
23,
23.
23, Supermarket 23.
.com.
Yeah.
And
And there's a tiny flag up in the header line that you can click on to get it in English if you want it in English instead of in Spanish. You can see the people.
Okay.
and once again, there was a presentation about this. And again, I can now say this to you, Ken. We are very hopeful, and I made the suggestion to the partnership committee for the chair of the partnership committee for the CPN, that information go out to everyone about Supermarket 23 and how it works. And there was a flyer that was handed out about that, etc. So hopefully there's going to be information about that going out soon.
Thank you.
By the way, one of the things I actually have just found my notes that I took at the gathering, and one of the things that Dora, who's the general secretary, told us, she said that for the first time in her life, she's seen people, including young people, begging in the streets of Havana. And she said that has never happened before because, government provides, has provided, the ration cards and all that. But I mean, the ration cards are, very limited in what they provide. And the food supplies may not even be available that, you can get with a ration card. And, just to hear her say that was, you could tell it just pained her because they had not had to deal with that, before. So.
Yeah, at the business meeting, there were some very strong comments by some of the Cubans about how that the food situation is so bad, and yet the government is spending and they do not have the government does not have the money to provide all the food rations. They can't purchase all the food rations, and yet they are spending so much money on increasing tourist facilities, building new hotels and things like that for tourist facilities, because I think that that'll draw more people in. So there is some definite disgruntlement, upset with from expressed by some people because of that.
I guess those are the things I can think of from the Cuba Partners Network gathering. Ken, I don't know if you have anything to add.
Yeah, no, I think you did a good job there, Randy. Thank you. Well, we've already talked about the report to Presbytery. We're down to planning for the trip next March.
Oh, by the way, if you were asking about churches and what was going on at churches, we have just found out Sunday afternoon that the pastor at Santa Spiritus, who is actually moderating also the session at Taguasco, she is leaving and going to a church in Matanzas Presbytery. It is a crushing loss for Santa Spiritus. She's only been there a couple years and had been doing she'd graduated from seminary and came there, and she was a little older. She didn't go to seminary until she was in her probably late 30s, since Mila had left that church, she's there. And so not only is it a crushing blow for them, because she was also the treasurer of El Centro Presbytery. And when Pat and I, met with her in September, she really understood clearly, the finances of the presbytery. She was able to answer our questions. She explained things well. Well, she explained things to Pat in Spanish, but it's just a major loss for them, because now there are 12 churches in El Centro Presbytery. There are 7 in Villa Clara province, 5 in Santa Spiritus, and there are no pastors at any of the 5 churches in Santa Spiritus province. So that means they are going to be served on a part-time basis by these other pastors who are already stretched thin, as you can imagine. So it's
travel is significant between Villa Clara and Santa Spiritus. The travel is significant, and the presbytery has to pay for it.
Right, it is, even if they can get the fuel. So yeah, it's a big loss for them. And the other thing that, again, I guess, Pat, we're going to talk about, and you can take the lead on talking about what came out of the business meeting in September. But and now I forgot what I was going to say, but I'm sure I'll think of it.
Let us know. Okay, was there anything else on the about your partner churches that you'd like to share with us? All right, then we want to move along to the
Fran,
plans for the next trip.
Fran, have you been having some contact with Rayleigh now?
You need to become off mute. Unmute yourself.
No, I have not. I'm not even sure, now that I guess he's back to go ahead. When I sent him an email before, I did not get any reply. I did send it in English. And as you know, he does not speak English. So that was wild.
You can't use email with him. You really have to use WhatsApp. You are not getting his emails, and he says he's not getting your emails. And WhatsApp is really the most reliable. He said that, they all said that on the council when we talk with them. Please, please use WhatsApp.
Can you, do you have, so what do? Do you text or can you
Yes.
send an equivalent of an email? I have WhatsApp on my, here on my phone.
Yes,
Okay.
there's a chat function that you use like a text, or you can send, you can't make it too long, you may have to send several of them. And you can also drag and drop a document, like a PDF, you should be able to drag, there's ways of attaching documents to the WhatsApp as well. If you want to put you write a letter out and attach it. But that is so much more reliable for them than email, and he should respond to that.
And Fran, if you
Okay,
know,
I'm just looking at,
you know how to drag and attach something, so maybe hope you'll tell me, because I don't know how to do that myself.
well, I've done it. I have done it in the past. I know. I mean, I've never done it, I don't think, on a phone.
Yeah, it's easier from an iPad, because you can't have WhatsApp you don't have WhatsApp on a computer because there's no phone connection. But if you have
I have it, yeah, okay.
but
I'll play with it. I can figure it out.
you use the chat function. Start out by the chat function. Just try to reach out to him with the chat function, which is like text. And you can
Okay.
also do, with WhatsApp, you can also do a video call, or you can record like a voice memo, but that's not going to help because it's hard to understand. If you're recording in English, it's much easier to translate it if it's written down, as you know.
Well, let me ask you this. If you have a document in English, is there somewhere where you can go and have it just translated
They
into
will
Spanish?
translate it. They will get it translated. They know how to use Google Translator. They have someone around. They will get it translated.
Yes.
Okay, okay. That will be my activity this afternoon.
Good luck.
Thanks.
Okay, and you have his telephone number, correct?
Somewhere, I don't know, but if you'll have it, I'll take it.
Let me
Well-
see if I can find it quickly and send it to you.
Yeah, that would be a good idea to have a phone number.
Yeah, because you have to have that for WhatsApp.
Right.
Yeah, no, actually on this form, he put down his email address. He did not put down his phone
I have
number.
it. I'm going to send, let's see. I'm going to send the contact card to you by email.
Okay.
Hope that, yes. And the subject is Rayleigh Romero, and it's a contact card. You should be able to click on it and put it in your address book. If you can't see it, let me know and I'll send it to you in plain text.
Let me see what I got here. Nothing from you yet. Let me see. It didn't come through yet.
Okay, I'm also sending it as a text to your phone. Let's see if that goes. And I sent it to Randy as well.
Okay, now I have this.
I got it.
Okay,
Okay, I've got it.
Thank you, Pat.
welcome.
Yes, my dear, thank you. I will work on this. This will be a challenge for me. I'll get it. I've got some grandkids that can help.
Oh, yes.
This is Eric. If you create a Google Doc, in Google Docs, there's a little button down there. I think it's 3 little circles. You click on that and you can translate your English into any language. You do it. I use it with my relatives in Germany all the time.
What's it, a Google Doc?
I think in Google Docs, yeah. I'll tell you what,
You can send me,
I'll research
you can
it.
send me
I'll send
whatever.
it. Yeah, I'll send it to you guys. I'll research.
You
I was
can
trying to
send
do
me.
it here, but lose you guys. I'd lose you all.
Okay.
Just
You can
imagine
send
there's
me
a
the,
little thing, and there's a drop down box, and it tell what language, and it automatically goes in there.
Fabulous.
Yep.
I can volunteer to help. If you write in English, I can translate in Spanish. So Pat, if you want, send her my email and then she can email it to me and then I can translate for you. No problem.
Okay,
Thank you. That was very nice.
No
Google
problem.
Doc.
I know that the one thing we need to discuss is the actual dates of the trip and our transportation down there. Pat, you had done some research
yes, we had-
into airfares and, okay, you want to talk about that?
yes, I think we need to move the trip by one day, make it the 12th through the 20th instead of the 11th through the 19th, because the airfare on Monday is about twice what it is on Tuesday. And it's just not worth it. So it's basically the same week, and I don't think we haven't cleared this with Mary Alice yet, but I don't think they'll have an objection. But I would strongly recommend that. It's just not worth spending twice as much money to fly on a Monday. And we will be flying from Orlando, probably an afternoon flight, spending the night in an airport, a hotel in the airport in Miami, and then flying out the next morning to Cuba, because that's the way the flights go. The airport, we've got a good rate from the hotel. It's $229 per room as a group rate. We would put 2 people in a room usually, and they just need to they're holding a block of 10 rooms right now. I need to finalize that with them. I had no idea how many people we were going to go. 10 rooms would hold 20 people at 2 a room. Of course, you could have more. And I don't know if we can get 30 people, which would be 15 rooms. I think we just have to wait a little bit longer and see, but they're holding that block until December 15th. And that's a very good rate, and it's much better than trying to catch a shuttle at the airport to a hotel and then back the next morning, which several of us did at the business meeting. And it was a disaster because the shuttle bus only runs once an hour. It was 40 minutes late picking us up the next morning. It was just a nightmare. So the girls in Baltimore, 3 ladies from Baltimore went down to the business meeting, stayed at the hotel in the airport, and they said it was fine. It was great. And the rate is good, $229 plus tax per person. It's still going to be around $150 per person, which is reasonable, unfortunately. So I would recommend that we change the dates, or we request from Mary Alice that we can change those dates. I'm sorry? You just,
You want to do that?
yeah, I want to do what? I'll make the motion that we change the dates pending confirmation from Mary Ellis. And you want me to contact her?
Yes. Do I hear a second to the motion to change the dates? March 12 through 20. All right.
Second.
Perfect.
Made in second. All in favor? Wave. Anyone opposed? Okay, motion carried.
Keiko has joined us.
Hey. You're on mute. Keiko, you need to unmute.
Okay, bye, thanks. Okay. Sorry, I had a call coming on. All right, so I will note that we're changing the dates pending confirmation from Mary Ellis, and I will contact Mary Ellis.
right? Um,
Ken, how many people are signed up so far?
I have 7 applications. That include yours and mine, Randy, and Pat's. So 2 of those applications are from people at North Lake.
Oh, great.
Yeah, yeah. So
Oh,
we'll have them back in the group again.
just so you know, relative to North Lake, Edilberto, who's the pastor at Cabrian, talked with me a lot about that, and so I have made it my mission to encourage North Lake to get involved. I've talked with Jeff Hosmer, who's the pastor at North Lake. I also had a long 45-minute conversation with the chair of the mission committee at North Lake. And this was last week, and he said he was going to be, it was early last week, he was going to be having a meeting with their mission committee, and he would push it and really try to get people to go. He said he would actually go himself, but he already had a cruise planned that they'd had planned for 6 months. So he can't go, but he was really going to try to get members of the committee to go to reinvigorate that partnership. And Edilberto is very pleased that, you know, that may happen. So I'm particularly pleased to hear that there are already 2 applications from people at North Lake. Fabulous.
Yes.
I anticipate, just based on what people have told me, that there'll be at least 4 of us from Graceway. I'm hoping even more, but I think there'll be at least 4 of us at this point.
Okay.
Those are
We're
people
also-
who will be definite.
We're also working with a few people from El Redentor. For sure, me and Olga are going, but maybe two more people will go with us as well from El Redentor.
That's great.
Very good. Yeah, very good.
That's-
Those of you that are planning to go, get your applications into me as soon as you can. That December 15th deadline is really a pretty firm deadline because we have to apply for visas, and it takes a while to get those, as we've experienced with Riley trying to get here through the American embassy. The Cuban embassy can be just as slow, if not slower. So it just does take some time, and information has to be complete and extremely accurate.
And we also.
And I'll get you mine this
And we
Sunday
will-
at church. I'll give it to you at church this Sunday.
We
my
also
application.
need the count, a good count about a week before the 15th, so we can make sure we have enough rooms booked at the hotel too. So that would help. There's a little bit of
Yes.
a, right, but it would help
Yes.
get them in by the end of
And
December.
we-
November.
And we have to have a lot of that same information to get the airplane reservations.
Yes,
So there's a lot of paperwork involved in that. So with the hotel, with the airplane reservations, and with the Cuban visas, we just need to get that information in.
yeah, I have not, I'm sorry.
I was just going to say the $175 initial deposit. You can send that directly to the Central Florida Presbytery, and just be sure your check is clearly marked Cuba trip. Pat, go ahead.
I have not contacted the airline directly about group rates or the travel agency because I didn't have a good idea of the number. That we can wait another couple of weeks, but we need a good idea of the numbers, and we'll see which way is better to go, to do it through American as a group rate or through the travel agency we've used before. We've done JetBlue, we've done it both ways.
What is a return flight? Is that a direct
Yeah,
flight?
return flight is still change in Miami, but it's the same day. We leave
Okay.
Cuba in the morning and we come back and we get to Orlando in the afternoon.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, the number of flights available has declined significantly. there is one flight a day, into Santa Clara.
It depends on the timing there. Yeah, one flight a day into Santa Clara, but there are various connections in Miami, and there are more connections in the spring when we're going because it's a high season. But still, it's difficult.
But is there more
It's
than one
just-
flight
it's
into
just-
Santa Clara?
No, it's only one flight to Santa Clara.
Right, Santa Clara, but I mean, even airlines, I think it's Southwest that's canceled all of their flights to Cuba.
Mm.
They're not going to be flying there, and apparently Delta and all the airlines have cut back on their flights because the demand just isn't there right now.
And so it's a monopoly for American. They can charge what they want.
Question, what ended up last year? The suitcase was 70 pounds or 50 pounds at the end?
50, 50, 50,
50.
50. Yes, the 70 is only
50.
for first
Okay.
class. It is 50 pounds. And we're
Okay,
going to tell
okay.
people this year that if their suitcase is overweight, they have to cover it. We're not trying to rearrange. We can't spend an hour trying to rearrange things at the airport. We had people who almost didn't make it through security in time because of that last year. So we're from the very beginning, if you bring a suitcase that's more than 50 pounds, it's on you. Sorry, but we have to.
If somebody knows that they have less than 50 pounds, you might notify us in advance, and somebody might
Yes.
can have a little extra that way. But we need to make sure that you either don't have more than 50 pounds, or you're prepared to pay that outrageous extra charge for it.
The good
we
thing,
I think it
I
was
think-
$200 last time.
I think the confusion was that it was somebody think it was 70 pounds, and then some other people said it was only 50. So that's why I'm asking, because I think it was a confusion on what we think and what it was really what can be done, so.
There was that issue, but there were also people who came and said at the airport, my suitcase is 90 pounds. We had two people who come with like 90 pounds, and they had already been told when they packed the suitcase
Oh,
at
no.
the church that
That's crazy.
Yes. Yes.
Oh, yeah, no.
Yes,
Yeah.
there was confusion with the 70 versus the 50. That was our mistake, but it is 50.
Yeah, the airline's website was not very clear.
It's a little bit clear,
Oh.
but it's still hard. You have to know now we know where to look. We
Yeah.
just know where to look.
Yeah.
And it says up to 70, and what they don't tell you is 70 is for first class passengers. And we're not going to pay an additional $600 for first class to avoid a $200 luggage fee. Well, you still have to pay the luggage fee, but the overage. Okay.
Pat and Ken, do you have a rough idea of what the total cost is as I share the news into land?
I believe we said 1,400 in the, it's on the present, there is an introductory letter on the Presbytery website, on the Cuba page, an information letter.
Thank you.
and Harlan, you're still on the email list, aren't you? I mean, you get emails from Pat.
I got an email for this one.
Okay, well then she sent the application.
I have the application here. I just need to.
And there was an
Introduction letter with it. One of them, there should have been an introduction letter with one of the emails.
May have been. I just.
Mhm.
But
asked the question. Yeah.
we're still going to be applying for scholarships,
Yes.
partial scholarships from the Lang Fund, and I think our hope is to be able to get $350 to $400 a person, or $300 to $400 a person, to cover part
That
of
was what we got last year. Yeah.
And we generally get
I mean,
about,
that was last year, so we're optimistic we can get that again.
the Lang Scholarship Fund has, I can't remember the amount, but there's still like $600,000 or $700,000, I think, in the Lang Scholarship Fund. So, the money's available, and we've never been turned down for all of these trips. We've never been turned down for scholarships. So I can't imagine, we would be turned down this time.
Right.
And since the cost has gone up, usually we've applied for, a quarter or a third, isn't it, of the costs?
Yes.
This is by far the most expensive trip we've had, just because, everything's gone up. I mean, I would see us asking probably for, in the range of $400 as opposed to $300 or $350.
Mhm.
We might even decide to ask for $450, but we'll see.
I think we used 1,400 in our trip in March, our last trip, didn't we? I'm pretty sure it was the same. Ken's nodding his head. I'm pretty sure we had 1,400 again.
Okay.
Yes, it was 14 last year. I remember that.
We were able
And-
to keep it about the same, and we did it.
And
We
how-
did build in increases for transportation and everything else. But
And did you all, and how much did you all apply for?
I think we asked for 400.
And you got it.
Yes,
Okay.
we had a smaller group going, but still, we were very pleased. They've always been very generous.
Is there anything else about the trip?
I do. I have a question. What if we don't get anybody to go to Santa Clara church?
That's okay. We may have some people who, that's okay. They know that we send who we can. And not everyone can visit not every church can have someone visiting every time. Depending on
Yeah.
what we have, we'll try, if we have new people coming, we'll be trying to send them to the churches that don't have partnerships. But if no one,
That's what I feel bad. I talk it up, but I mean, quite honestly, our church is kind of aging out of these kind of things.
I understand. I'm usually the
Yeah.
only one who goes from Pineda.
Yeah, and it's spring break for the younger folks in Orlando. The school age kids. Okay,
If you
I
could
guess
That's if we could get some teenagers to come, that'd be ideal because they have it during spring break. It's not spring break here because our pastor wants to go, but she can't go because it's not spring break for her son. So she can't
yeah,
go.
yeah.
Nonetheless, we should all be talking it up with our, at our congregations.
We've tried. I just
You're not alone, Fran.
yeah, I just gonna say the last couple that went from our church, both of them have passed away.
Mm-hmm.
Mary Van Hook and her husband Jay have both passed away. They were he was very challenging in terms of mobility
Mm-hmm.
when he went. So
And Pat, you'll be making one last push at the Presbytery meeting. I mean, people will only have about 10 days to make a decision, but you'll make a push at that time as well, right?
I will now, I'll make a note of it.
I mean, hey, never can tell.
and I don't think our pastor's that familiar with it, or he doesn't seem to get it. And if you heard it from Presbytery, I think he might get a little more excited about it.
Well, after he hears Pat speak, he'll be excited.
I mean, he should go. What I'm thinking, let's, and then that would get the ball rolling if we could get him participating in this.
And of course, Pat, Ken, or I would always be more than happy to speak with him.
Well,
I was going to say get with him at the meeting, but I forgot it's a virtual meeting. But any one of us would be happy to talk with him about it.
yeah, I don't even to mention it from the pulpit. It would be nice for him to
Yes.
say words, because that gets people's attention, because they don't even always read. I've got it in the bulletin. I've got it in the Covenanter.
I don't read it.
No.
Yeah.
And you talk to everybody you see, but I've been out of town a lot this fall, and so I haven't been going to to services like I usually do during the spring, because I'm out of town and just sing.
Hey, I was able to make a 1 to 2 minute presentation on Sunday about it. Pastor let me do it, and so I made a big pitch to the congregation. So you're right, being able to speak from the pulpit or during the worship service, it does make a difference, because I had several people come up to me after the service, saying they were interested.
Good. We have a bulletin board in our fellowship hall that we have with all the pictures and a wooden map that Ray Lake had given us, just to kind of get people's attention and say, oh, look, read that, check that out, for people that are wondering what's going on. Thank you,
Your
folks.
church,
Ken, we can't understand you.
your church's missions committee. Yeah, that I'm not coming through.
You heard
Fran,
Church's Mission Committee.
Fran, are you
Yes.
are you on your church's missions committee?
On compassion. So that covers missions.
Missions, okay. Well, if you'd like, as Randy was saying, if you'd like someone to come and meet with a pastor or with your missions compassion committee, I'm sure we can do that. There's not a lot of time left yet, but
Right.
but
We
if they're
just
having
had
a
our
meeting,
compassion committee meeting last week. And we
Ah.
don't meet again for another. Oh, we're not going to meet in December.
okay.
Well, I just asked her, I just sent her an email and said, when you put in the minutes, please put more information about the Cuba trip, so that at least that'll go, because then the minutes to all of the committees get sent out to at least the session, and so other people that have asked to have the session the committee minutes sent to them.
Okay.
But do you know Dr. Best, Reverend Best? Have you
I
ever
do
met
not.
him?
Yeah.
I don't think I've ever met him.
I guess he goes to these meetings. I mean, he's supposed to, isn't he?
Yes.
I mean, we don't have any right of knowing. He's kind of new, and he came in right at the beginning of COVID, so it was a real, strange time. And he lives in DeBerry, and we're in Winter Park, so I think he works from home a lot. Well, when is the next Presbyterian meeting? I want to mention. I'll send him an email and ask for sure to attend.
December the 5th. December the 5th.
Okay, I'll ask him to check it out and see if he can. If he's going to be there, I don't know. I'll ask somebody on session to ask him if he's going. We usually send someone from session too. So.
Well, remember, it's a virtual meeting this year. The December meeting, totally virtual, from what at least the last I had heard.
Okay.
Unless they've changed it. At the September meeting, they announced it was going to be a totally virtual meeting.
Okay. Thank you all for the information.
Anything else about the trip that we need to talk about at this point?
I don't think so.
Okay.
Things moving, because we're an hour and a half by now.
Does anybody have anything else that we need to discuss or talk about? Any questions?
I have a little bit of a concern that I've run into with my family, and some of them, I have a grandchild who is going to be getting a high security clearance, and somebody at our church, there's one of the guys who could speak Spanish, and he already has high security clearance, and he said he's not allowed to even talk to a Cuban.
I had a secret clearance, and the rules for any kind of foreign travel, including Cuba, was just being briefed before and after. I did not travel to Cuba until my clearance had expired, just to be sure, but I was told it would not have been a problem. As long as what we're doing, you're with the security clearance, you don't, you make sure you don't wear anything that says Northrop Grumman or your company. You just look like an ordinary person. You don't bring that stuff up unless someone knows who you are, what you're there. It's really, the subject doesn't come up, but it is something to consider.
Yeah, because even they said even to China, I've been to a lot of different places. I'm not getting the security clearance. It's just that these engineer grandchildren are going to be getting them, and I just was.
They just need to
wonderful.
go to their security department early and say, hey, thinking about a mission trip to Cuba. Is it possible? Just ask them, tell them, the security people will tell them what's up, what's what.
Okay.
And the main thing is the most important thing is to notify before you go. They have to be notified before you go. You don't come back and say, oh, by the way, I just went to Cuba. You want to notify them before you go, then it's upfront. They know what's going on, and they can tell you, we recommend that you don't at this time, or you can, but this is what, you have to, people.
Yeah, I mean, they're just choosing not to participate. They don't want to put any, it's not worth the risk kind of thing.
I can understand that. It's sad. I understand that, because I told Randy when he first approached me about going to Cuba, I said, I've still got an active security clearance. I'd rather wait until that expires. I had to wait 2 years until after I retired.
Yeah.
And then I was told later that it didn't matter, it was okay. But
well, when you're 2 years from retiree, that doesn't matter. Yeah, but when you're sure. Okay, thank you again. Y'all are so informative for me.
Ken, you look like you're trying to say something. It didn't come across.
When do we want to meet again? When's our next meeting? We're going to meet as a committee before the trip, or wait till after the trip? We're going to have 2 orientation meetings for the trip, January and February probably.
Yes.
So do we want to squeeze in a committee meeting as well, or wait till after the trip to meet as a Cuba partnership team again?
Unless we have business that we need to transact, I think we probably should wait until afterwards. As long as we get our fundraising done, we make plans now for that, and we keep people informed with email blasts. It's just a busy time of year. There's no sense meeting in December. We can see how things we see how it goes in January, but we can or we can, when we schedule, if we do our orientation meetings by Zoom again, we could let people, we could possibly schedule a meeting the same day if people are, if we have a need to, a real short meeting if we have a need to.
So is it okay if we just wait and pick the date for a scheduled meeting, probably in April sometime? Is that agreeable?
Yes.
Okay. All right. Is there any other business we need to discuss? Those of you going on the trip, we will I'll just look for emails. You'll be getting plenty of them.
Yes.
We'll keep you informed.
Once we have the list, you'll be getting plenty of emails.
Yeah. Okay. And if it's yes, Nelly.
Question from Deli. You need to mute yourself. Unmute.
I did. All right, I have 2 things. Forgive me for leaving the meeting for some time. My brother is in critical condition in New York at the Veterans Hospital, and the doctors needed my approval for a surgery. There's nothing else I could do. It's a life or death moment. I have a friend in Puerto Rico. He would like to join us for the trip to Cuba. What do I do?
Who?
He belongs to the Presbyterian Church in Puerto Rico.
All right. We will have to have his passport. He's going to have to make his own flight arrangements. Because can he fly directly from Puerto Rico to Cuba?
I don't think so. Probably from Puerto Rico to Miami and probably get in our plane.
Okay, okay. Have him get an application in as soon as possible. And then so we'll know that, and if he will fly to Miami, then we can have him on our plane. We can figure out how to do that. And we will also need his passport information for the visa. But other than that, yes, I think we can do that.
He will be a good asset because he's dreaming on going to Cuba with us. I told him last year. Okay, I'll keep in touch.
Are you going back again, or some folks from El Buen Vecino going back again?
Oh, yes.
Oh, wonderful.
Anything else? If not, would someone close us with a prayer? Do I hear a volunteer? All
Sure.
right, I will.
I'll be happy to do it, Ken.
Okay, Randy, thank you.
Dear Lord, you have put this on our heart. And Lord, we just, we thank you for all the guidance and wisdom that you provide to us. Help us to listen to your voice in all of our actions. We ask you to be with the Cuban people during this incredibly difficult time for them. Guard, guide, and protect them, and help them to know how much they are deeply loved by you, Lord. Please be with all of us and all of our families. We ask this in your name. Amen.
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 Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Hope to see you all soon.
Yeah,
Okay.
thank you, everyone.
Holidays.
Bye.
Bye.